Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. Previous seasons have been known for certain things in them, right? We all know Season 2 was Beyblade, Season 3 was Triple Tank, Season 4, the start of it at least, was the Omnic Crisis, whilst it then descended into Season 5 and Dive. Whilst there are changes to Mercy on the PTR, by the time that they will go into live, it'll most likely be the end of Season 6. And so, with this first 2-month season done and dusted almost, what will it be remembered for? When it comes to meta and compositions, what will be the first thing that strikes to your mind? Will it be the Junkrat buff or the Mercy change perhaps? For me, I think it will be the rise of cheese comps. And what I mean by cheese comps are the Risa, Tobian, Orisa, Symmetra, Mercy, even a Diva in there for good measure, all sitting on an objective just spamming it down. Now this isn't particularly a strat that pros use, but we haven't seen any pro play of this current patch with the new Diva and Mercy, and more than likely we won't do because changes will go in before BlizzCon. Not only that, this isn't really a strategy that you see in GM Top 500, whilst you do run into a couple of one tricks now and again that play sort of niche off meta picks that can cause a lot of problems. For the most part, things tend to be pretty good up there, so grass is kind of greener on the other side. For the other plebs like myself and below GM, even as high as Masters, we do run into these sort of cheese comp strategies. The frustrating thing about them is that they are quite straightforward to take down. Heroes like Sombra, even Reinhardt can have a great time just to burn through those shields with the things that they have, and then EMP Earthshatter can shut down everything fairly quickly. Obviously, you've sort of taken to the footage on screen of a Scrim Central tournament of a team going up against this strategy and actually winning it fairly straightforwardly, but that's the thing, team. There was a lot of coordination, communication that went into breaking down the strategy, and more often than not, you don't tend to have a word said in games until the finger is pointed. This is one of the main things that I wanted to talk about in this video. There aren't any meta reports currently out to sort of show the rise of these particular heroes, but what I said about the changes to Junkrat and the changes to Diva happening at the same time caused a lot of problems has kind of come to fruition. I wouldn't necessarily say that the nerf to Diva's defense matrix has enabled all of this to happen, but it certainly hasn't helped. Diva's defense matrix was a great way to sort of break in on ground and to take in some of that damage, and now because the defense matrix is on a lot shorter cooldown, it means that not as much damage is going to get eaten up, meaning that a lot of damage can burn through. Diva loses a mech very quickly nowadays, and essentially all of the tanks get eaten up for dinner. This meta isn't fun to play as a tank, especially in those kind of games which seem to be coming up more frequently than not. The reason why it gets picked up a lot is that it's incredibly easy to run. It requires no communication from anybody on your team, but requires a lot from the enemy. So if you're in those tilted games where nobody's talking, it really benefits the team that is running the cheese composition over the one that's trying to break into it. Of course, how this sort of works out is incredibly important as well. Some teams run it better than others, and some teams break into it better than others as well. But it's an incredibly frustrating composition to run into. But much like Bastion when the game was brought live for the first time, people complained about it and eventually got used to working around it with teamwork, game sense and experience. Nowadays, if people can't break into it in the first push, you tend to have people tilting, getting frustrated at one another, but not also realizing that they're doing their jobs wrong as well. You also need to know what kind of composition you're going to run into, and this is another problem as well, and it has to do with triple DPS. Triple DPS is the bane of my life currently. It's a composition that I see now and again with people running all sorts of stuff, Tracer Genji, and then maybe even like a Hanzo or Widow. They're the kind of picks that instantly tilt you in a game when you first see them lock in, and because of triple DPS, whilst you may have more damage on your team, hypothetically speaking of course, you will lose either a tank or a support, and most of the time you can't run without two supports. I've seen it quite a lot with just one Mercy on her own, but even then it's still better to run double supports over double tanks in that given scenario. The problem with that is that if you're the solo tank, you're going to have a terrible time as well. Breaking into these compositions with a Winston will just get you killed almost instantly, but walking forward with a Reinhardt or a Diva or a Zarya in the open, A, you've got nobody really walking with you because you may have flankers on your team or snipers right in the back. The only company that you may have are the supports of yours that are looking at you kind of scared and worried, like, what's going to happen, Mr. Reinhardt? Please don't let us die. There's very little that you can do about it in that given situation. The cheese comp is the dark side of the force. The more anger and tilt that you surrender to it, the stronger that it gets. And currently, even with the PMA announcement, I suppose, from Jeff Kaplan, toxicity seems to be running rampant within Overwatch. And this composition really relishes off of it. When teams are talking to one another and are currently blaming each other, you've got a one trick on your team that isn't even in team chat, it's the best kind of composition to run. So I feel that this meta currently is going to be remembered, certainly on maps like Eichenwald, Hanamura, Volskaya even, as the cheese comp meta, or at least a meta that it really became prominent and suddenly people started struggling with it. We'll be sure to have a What's the Meta going over some hero changes, what heroes have got more popular soon. But do let us know in the comments what you think. What are your tips to beating a cheese comp? What kind of compositions do you like to run? And also just let out a bit of steam, rant a little in the comments if you want, about some of the annoying things that you found in games, because this is, you know, sort of top of my list currently. Not only running into cheese comps that require very little skill to run and losing into it, because our team won't communicate and think that they know best by running a Genji into a Symmetra nest of turrets, that kind of stuff. Let's have a bit of a rant, it sort of helps, but let us know what you think in the comments below, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, take care, we'll see you then.